This is, of course, where the Flight Manager for Reusable Stages mod would come in handy, but this is a stock install. And I don't think FMRS is actually updated for 1.7 or something. That's maybe a little bit high of a payload if I look at it from here. Like, should be no higher than this, maybe. Like, top should be here. Either way. SAS on, full throttle, 3, 2, 1, launch. Excuse me very much, why are you so heavy? What are you hanging on? What? Also, why do I have wet noodle syndrome? What's that? What's that supposed to be? Okay, revert flight full vehicle assembly. So first things first, we are too heavy, which means I am going to adjust the payload to not be that high and therefore lighter. I thought that doing the Starlink satellites would actually work, but apparently that's not going to work. Just gonna rip off these. And therefore make the payload fairing, edit. Actually, I can't edit that high up properly. So, excuse me while I put you in the ground a bit. Build fairing. Yeah, you should also go out a little bit. Again, build fairing. That. Stop going in. There we go. Yo, Matthew. Better. Now, what's my thrust to weight on this stage? Really? Also don't think we'll need all the fuel up here. What's it now? 1? So don't think we need necessarily all the fuel in this stage. 1.03. I guess that's working. Thanks for the host. I guess that works. Yeah, let's try that again. I'm doing fine. Apart from the game lagging out a little bit on building those pseudo landing legs. And also the landing legs not really working as landing legs. At least not on the full rocket. I guess we're gonna see whether they work on landing the booster stage. That looks a little bit less stupid up there. Anyway, SAS on launch. Yeah, for a Falcon 9, this is really too heavy. Also, we still probably have wet noodle syndrome on this area, because I didn't strut that. Is Half-Life 2 gonna continue? Yeah, eventually. I just don't know when I'll actually get around to doing that. First need to finish a bunch of other things. Really hard to actually find time to play games. Especially now that I work 8 hours a day, stream on Tuesdays, Fridays and Saturdays. And record a Viscera Cleanup Detail series on Thursdays nights. So actually, most of my time is already booked for other things. Have I ever tried CSGO? I have it, and I've played it before. I don't regularly play it. Okay, wet noodle syndrome, definitely a thing. I'm just going to do this. And switch back to this. RCS on. Brakes out. Get the fuel down here. Why are you flapping out? Because you shouldn't. Yeah. That's what happened to SpaceX the first few times as well, so... It's not that bad. Apart from the fact that these landing legs don't work as landing legs, which is, like, actually pretty sad. Do I plan on streaming CS? No. Absolutely not. Okay, so one thing that we're gonna do, that we're gonna deal with, is the wet noodle syndrome in the middle of the rocket. By adding some struts in here. Should be able to place struts there. Excuse me. Or not. Can I can place some deer, so 4 up to here. That should fix the wet noodle syndrome there. We're also gonna make sure that this never noodles. And yeah, that doesn't do anything anyway. Still gonna do that. So, thing is, if I strut these so they get more rigid, I don't get to move them at all. That's really dumb. Yeah, I played through the Metro games again after, like, before Exodus released, and I am going to record Metro Exodus tomorrow for the rest of the week, so that returns this week. What I'm also gonna do is add some of the air brakes under here, where they're not very obvious from a standpoint of how they look, but they should be very useful in actually making this steerable in air. And the other thing I want to do, I really wish these hinges here. What does the damping do? Let me see. Hinge damping KSP. Or I just try out whether anything does anything with that. Like put the damping to double what that was and see if that does anything. Hmm. I just want to see that real quick. That looks not anymore like the actual thing. I'm gonna take these off again. Looks stupid. Also, let me see if putting this to 0 does anything different. U forward. Apart from the fact that it doesn't stand up, that's not that bad. Oops. It looks the part, it just doesn't work. Revert to launch. Let's actually see if I can get these satellites into orbit though. If that part works. Because landing the booster sure doesn't work. It looks better than it flies. 3, 2, 1, go. Apart from it also being very, very slow off the pad, and that's not very realistic because the Falcon 9 isn't that sluggish. No, I didn't put the air brakes back off. Whatever. You're noodling. Why? So I'm gonna go until I have like this much fuel left, and then decouple, shut down the engine, activate the brakes, decouple, start the second engine, and that should be fine. I don't understand why the hinges wouldn't stay where they should be. They just broke. They just fucking broke. Basically. Imagine an actual Falcon 9 just having the legs come out on ascent. That would be a nice fireball. So that would of course fly back. Oops. SAS, why are you off? When did I turn SAS off? Whatever. And boom. Fairing halves would also be reusable with actual SpaceX, but I'm not actual SpaceX. $195 is where our apoapsis is. Prograde. Z. So that's 198 by 49. Yeah. Hold that. Or actually just turn off SAS, because we're just going to do the same thing that the real thing did, and just spin this up around its axis a bit, and then Boost. And that's all the Starlink satellites. That worked incredibly well. This looks really a lot like the real thing did. Good one. So yeah. Of course, all of these would now extend the solar panel. And then, yeah, get into their own orbit. But we'll just leave them orbiting like this. So yeah, from a design standpoint, this looks more like a Falcon 9 than anything else I tried doing in that regard. But it's one, too big because it's using the Saturn V parts, which is way too big. And two, it doesn't behave like a Falcon 9 because it's way too sluggish off the pad because the engines don't really carry that much fuel. And last but not least, it can't land on its landing legs because those are basically trash and not actual landing legs. They just look like the actual landing legs. Either way, I think that's a good replica either way. And we're gonna go flip some gardeners now, so I'll be right back.